Okay, finally getting out of work. This was supposed to be my day off, but I ended up cutting my shift short yesterday just because of the way our frozen truck schedule and the freezer maintenance or the freezer work that needed to get done, all of that stuff. Yeah, all kinds of stuff going on today. So yesterday I was supposed to come in and we were scheduled to have our freezers worked on. All of our stuff has been moved into a trailer since Monday, a refrigerated trailer. And everything was supposed to be done in those freezers sometime yesterday afternoon. We'd been able to get back in. We got word yesterday afternoon that, number one, our truck that was supposed to arrive yesterday wasn't going to come until late in the afternoon at the earliest. And number two, the freezer maintenance didn't get finished because the contractor that was doing that work got called to an emergency situation elsewhere. So they cut their day short to go take care of that emergency. So our stuff sits in the trailer. So that's when I decided yesterday to cut my day short and come in on my day off and do the stuff that I was supposed to get done yesterday, get that done today. So fast forward a few hours, come in today. Well, as of 9 o'clock last night, our frozen truck still had not arrived, so I decided to come in at 6 a.m. Well, I actually got there about 6:30, which is why you're not seeing a morning video, because it would have been done in the dark, so I didn't bother doing one. Got there at 6:30 in the morning to do to add on a few items to the frozen order, because it looked like that when the truck that was supposed to arrive Wednesday was going to have the same fate as the truck that was supposed to arrive Sunday. Basically, what ultimately happened is that order just simply got canceled. So I went in at 6 this morning. The order deadline is 6:50. So I got there about 6:30 to add on a bunch of stuff to the order. Well, I get there, and lo and behold, the truck had arrived, the frozen truck from yesterday. So I didn't end up having to add, I did add a few things here and there, just basically the stuff that came in out of stock. So I reordered the out of stock stuff. But other than that, I didn't add to the order. So the truck did arrive and was sitting inside the trailer, because our frozen department, who had already been there since 2 a.m., had already downstacked the truck and sorted it. So so my truck was sitting along with everything that was already in the freezer. The truck that was supposed to arrive Wednesday had arrived and was sitting in the trailer. I know it's a lot to follow. So bottom line is, there was about 8 to 10 pallets of product that belonged to our department sitting in that trailer, and we were getting ready to move it over to the freezer. Well, we had to wait and wait and wait. They had just turned the freezer back on this morning after finishing the freezer job. So they were waiting for the freezer to get down to temperature. Well, a couple hours went by and it was only at 34 degrees inside the freezer at about 9 this morning. So in talking with the store manager, I had found out that by the looks of it, they were bringing up the freezer, or bringing the freezer down to temperature slowly, because they were afraid of the concrete floor cracking if they brought it down to temperature too quickly. which I find is kind of funny because I've been around hockey arenas my entire life, and hockey arenas have never had that issue with concrete floor cracking. I don't know, maybe it's the type of concrete used or whatnot. Not sure why, but it was a concern, so they were bringing the freezer down to temperature slowly. So when they first turned it on, I think they turned it on in the middle of the night sometime when they finished doing their work in the freezer. They only had it come down to 34 degrees above freezing. So at 9 o'clock this morning, it was still at 34 degrees, and in discussing it with the store manager, he basically said, look, the freezer's not going to be ready today. It won't be ready until tomorrow morning, and you're just going to have to make do. And it was at that point where I had decided that because of the delays, our decorator has already waiting to get to her stuff to continue filling up the department. And the bakers didn't pull any bread for tomorrow because they were in need of getting inside the trailer. So with everything packed so tightly inside the trailer, everything was just completely inaccessible. So I made the executive decision to take advantage of the freezer. At least it was at 34 degrees. It was a big empty space that would allow me to pull those pallets out, sort through them, allow the decorator, the bakers, and our deli chef, who has some product in there that's frozen, to come in and get everything that they need for the next day. And then I would, after everybody got everything that they needed to get through the next 24 hours, I would go ahead and consolidate all the pallets and pack everything back up and put it back inside the trailer. And then tomorrow we'll finally move in to the freezer, move from the trailer into the freezer. So that's what we ended up doing. We just we pulled out all of our pallets out of the big freezer, or out of the tractor trailer rather, and we moved them into the big freezer in order to sort through them, pull everything that we needed, and then rewrap the pallets and put them back in the freezer. So that essentially was my day, was essentially moving frozen product around and then packing everything back up to store it back in the freezer. Well, in the meantime, as I was doing all that, the one of the guys from the refrigeration crew came into the freezer, and because we had all of our product in there at the time, he was complaining that the freezer wasn't ready and what are you doing, and I need to get access to this and need access to that, and he needed access to the refrigeration units up in the ceiling, and I had left him space to get his ladder in there because those refrigeration units are well above your head. I left him the space, it just wasn't wide open like he was expecting. And I explained to him what I was doing, that I wasn't moving everything over there permanently, that I needed a space to dig through all these pallets. I told him, I said, we are expecting to move back in on Thursday morning, and all of our employees need access to certain items off these pallets. And basically, in a nutshell, is we needed to get a few things off of each of the pallets that we had, and some of it was at the bottom and some of it was, you know, in the middle, and I explained to him that what we were doing was taking advantage of the big open space that was kept at 34 degrees. We knew it was too cold to be a freezer, or too warm to be a freezer, that we were just going to be working through all of the pallets in order to pull off the stuff that we need to get through the next 24 hours. And then we'd be wrapping the pallets back up and putting them back in the tractor-trailer truck. So once I explained to him what we were doing, he was okay with it, and in fact, he came in another time to make some more adjustments. Basically, what he was doing is adjusting the temperature down in increments. So he came in. We came in while we had everything in there when it was set at 34 degrees, and then he brought it down to 0. And then finally he came in a third time when I was just finishing up and I had all the pallets back in the trailer. He walked in and saw that the freezer was almost empty, and he was coming in to make the final adjustment to get it down to 10 below 0, which is what our freezer is set at. 10 or 15, I can't remember what he said. Might be 15 below is what it's set at. So that's essentially in a nutshell what happened today. So now we're faced with, I still am not moved into the freezer. Everything is still in a trailer. We're supposed to get another truck tomorrow, but I got word right before I left that that truck would not be arriving until Saturday. So now my plan is I'm scheduled 9 to 7 tomorrow. I'm going to go in and probably work. I was going to go in and do 7 to 7 or an 8 to 7, but because I stayed so far beyond what I was planning on today, I was planning on working just till noon, 12:30 at the latest, and then get out of there. And turned out I ended up having to stay until 3:30 because, number one, I worked too many hours, so it made it so I had to take a lunch. And then number two, I wanted to, I had stuff I needed to get done, and I wasn't leaving until that got done. So now all that stuff is done, and I need to move back into the trailer tomorrow. So what I'll do is, with no truck coming, I'm just going to go in at 9 as originally scheduled and work until 7 as originally scheduled, unless they send me home early, which I doubt they'll do. And then I'll cut what extra hours I need to cut on Monday. So that's where we stand at work. There's really nothing coronavirus to say about that, other than the fact that I'm hearing through the grapevine that the coronavirus outbreak that has happened at our warehouse was in the frozen department. And one of our upper managers came in and he made the comment, which kind of made sense, that the coronavirus lives indefinitely in that cold freezer condition. So he just stressed that I be careful. So what I'm going to end up doing when I get home, I didn't even think about that, and now as much time as I spend in the freezer now, it makes me wonder. So what I'm going to do is, when I get home, I'm going to wash my jacket, which I don't always wash, my uniform, of course, and I'm going to wash the gloves that I wore while working in the freezer, because that's just, now I'm, I want to make sure, because I spent so much time in the freezer today, that everything gets taken care of. So that's where we stand. So I'm going to go ahead and end the video for now. I'm going to work on, since it's raining, I was going to do some outdoor stuff today, but since it's raining, I can't really do that. So I'm going to go ahead and end it, and then we'll take it from there. So probably just do some video editing the rest of tonight. So that's it, and we will catch you later. See you in the next one.